This video is brought to you by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Let's talk about the Major League Baseball trade deadline, because with everything going on right now, the one focus we have that is universal is outfielder, right? When Ronald Acuna Jr. went down, all conversations about starting pitcher, bullpen, utility player, those went away, and the focus became outfield. And I'll tell you that it wasn't my first focus this year, but you react to injuries and you adjust to them. And there's still a large void in center field with Michael Harris out. There's no denying that. Again, his timetable is unclear. So with that, who will the Braves trade for? Who will they go and pick up? Jim Bowden discussed this, and he mentioned many of the guys that we have brought up here in the past, stating, quote, "The Braves are focused on improving their outfield room and have been since Ronald Acuna Jr. suffered a season-ending knee injury. Possible outfield trade targets include Jazz Chisholm Jr., Taylor Ward, Randy Arozarena, and Tommy Pham of the White Sox." Here's the thing, right? Tommy Pham was signed this year purely to be traded. Make no mistake. The White Sox knew going in this year that Tommy Pham would not be on the roster beyond July 30th, right? He's got a 264 average, 4 homers this year, which is a down year for him in terms of homers, 339 on base percentage, and 368 slug. Here's the thing. What he's lacking in homers, he does have in batting average. He does have an on base and slug. So I can live without the homers. I don't think the Braves need any help with that. Tommy Pham is not the perfect solution, but he is a good temporary solution if the Braves want to go that way. He is a free agent at the end of this year, right? You only commit to him for this year. But because he's on the White Sox, hear me out, because he's on the White Sox, they're going to try to maximize his value. They're going to try to get as many prospects and as many things in return they can get. And it may be some guys that, hey, we're going to trade you 8 guys because we don't, they're not high-ranked prospects, but they're going to get a good package for Tommy Pham, because at the end of the day, Tommy Pham has proven before that he can and will perform when he's healthy and when he's on his game. So he's a veteran player. He's not at the top of my list by any means, but I do think that he is an option, especially when you think about the idea of combining him with an Erick Fedde, starting pitcher Erick Fedde, or something of that sort. He could be a cheaper option than some others, including one of his teammates who we're going to talk about right now, Luis Robert Jr. A lot of people are probably looking at this one going, Tyler, really? You think we can do that? Well, let's look at his stats. A 236 average, 11 homers, 313 on base, and a 491 slug. Keep in mind, he's only played 43 games out of the 98 by the White Sox this year. If you do the math, he would be projected to hit about 25 homers on that pace. So all I'm saying is this, Luis Robert, you could potentially get him for less because he's had injuries this year. He is a free agent in 2026. You're not locking him up for quite as long as some of the others. And he's a good player. He's a darn good player, and he could help your offense out tremendously. And I think, when healthy, there's no one better on the White Sox, and they're one of the biggest sellers that baseball is going to have this year. So yes, I think he is attainable for somebody. And for the White Sox, who aren't going to do anything this year, probably not going to do anything next year anyway, they're going to want to maximize his value while he still has a year and a half of control. So he will be traded, I believe, whether it's to Atlanta or not. But I definitely think the Braves have him circled as potential option, which is one that Jim Bowden did not have. And a lot of people aren't looking at. I think Luis Robert Jr. is very likely to be traded. Again, I think the Braves at least have to take him into consideration. So just something to consider. We'll see what happens. Matthew, oh geez, here we go. Tyler, there is no room for Pham in the Braves clubhouse. He is on record calling Ozzie Albies an idiot for signing his extension with the Braves. He punched Jock Peterson in the face. Actually, it was a slap, I'm pretty sure, just to be technical here. And he treats fans bad too. I didn't get into that because I just typically don't get into that, but I'm going to get into it since it was brought up in the chat. You brought this up, Matthew, not me. I agree with you 110%. I do not want Tommy Pham around this Braves clubhouse because this Braves clubhouse, when you look at all of the clubhouses, all of the teams in Major League Baseball, I think this Braves clubhouse has something special that a lot of other ones don't. Some do. The Phillies clubhouse, to be honest with you, is very well maintained and has a good culture, and most do. But there's a few that don't, and that White Sox one is one. And you're going to have two types of players come out of there. You're going to have a player who is going to want to change his trajectory of his career by going to the Braves and maybe winning something, or you're going to have a player who's like Tommy Pham. And I agree with you. I have to mention it because those are the players that are being mentioned. But with all of Tommy Pham's gifts and with all of the things that would attract you to Tommy Pham, his negatives certainly outweigh the positives, especially when he's not exactly having his best year this year. So yeah, I 100% agree with you. I addressed it and told you the reasons for it, but there are plenty of reasons to throw darts at the dartboard here. But at the end of the day, it's still a possibility. And can the Braves look that aside? Maybe, but you also got to think with him slapping Jock Peterson, he may not be the most liked player walking into that clubhouse. And that's pretty fair to me. I agree with you. But if it happens and I didn't say it, you all are going to say, oh, you didn't bring up Tommy Pham. So if it happens, it happens. But with as much emphasis as Alex Anthopoulos and Snit and the organization puts on the clubhouse culture, I don't think they're going to bring someone like Tommy Pham in. I could be wrong. You could be wrong. But I agree with you. If you're trading with the White Sox for Luis Robert, right? Let's say we're trading with him and we're throwing in, just off top of my head here, Drake Baldwin, Nacho Alvarez, Hurston Waldrop, and, Chicago's like, well, I want so-and-so. It may be, okay, well, I'll give you so-and-so if you give me Erick Fedde, because then you just rebuilt your starting rotation, right? Your starting rotation will consist of Reynaldo Lopez, Max Fried, Charlie Morton, Chris Sale, and then Erick Fedde, which is a great full 5 starter rotation. That would be great. And I'm not saying Spencer Schwellenbach can't be that guy. I'm saying he's not that guy yet, because his experience level is not there, and I don't know that I want his experience to come in the second half of the season. The other component of it is, what are you going to do if somebody else in the starting rotation gets hurt, right? That's where a lot of these people who are saying, we don't need a starter, we have starters. Okay, what happens when Charlie Morton blows his knee out? You heard it. What happens if somebody else gets hurt? So for me, it's a depth thing too, right? If you get Erick Fedde, you then have A.J. Smith-Shawver, Schwellenbach, Bryce Elder, all these guys in the minors ready to fill in if necessary. Ian Anderson even in the postseason. So I'm just saying it's a lot of guys that are just overlooking the starting rotation. Starting rotation is important too. I think Fedde is important, and I would stick by that. That was the first move I picked this year, and I think it's a big one. All in all, what I'm looking at right now, when I look at this team, when I look at what we need, I still think starting rotation is a factor. There's no doubt about it in my mind. In terms of Garrett Crochet, great talent. It's wasted in Chicago with the White Sox. I would love to get him. I think it would take, no joke, our entire lineup for the White Sox to give him up to us. I think it would be astronomical of a price, at least the entire farm. It would be because that's who they're building around, right? When you look at their team, there's not a ton there that's locked up long term. I mean, even Luis Robert Jr., he's only locked up through 2026, and that might be their best offensive player. So, and I don't know for sure this year, but Luis Robert Jr. is certainly in that category. They just don't have a lot locked up, and you typically, if a team is smart, you build around starting pitching, and he's their best guy, right? Erick Fedde, the only reason I think that the Braves are going to trade for Erick Fedde or could trade for Erick Fedde is because he's only locked up through the end of 2026, right? They're going to try to get rid of him before he signs his way out of Chicago like Trevor Story did a few years ago, with the Rockies. So they're going to have to do something. But, I mean, it's going to be quite a package. I think Crochet would be great, but I think when you look at where we are right now, you just need a guy to fill that fifth spot. You don't need a number one starter, right? Crochet, great talent. Unfortunately, it's wasted in Chicago at the moment. I just don't think that we were going to do that when on the same exact team you have a much cheaper option in Erick Fedde. I would just be surprised. Again, if it happens, throw a party, blast the confetti, because that is a phenomenal pickup. But I would just be surprised if the White Sox were willing to completely throw away what they have going, which isn't much, and Garrett Crochet is about all they got. And I think Erick Fedde, with all of what he has, he has the ability to go right into your rotation, no problem. And really, the reason I like him is because he's a free agent at the end of next year. He's not a huge name. He's not a huge commitment, and I think that he could fill in nicely because ideally you lose either Max Fried or Charlie Morton, right? Let's say Charlie Morton is to retire at the end of the year and Max Fried decides, hey, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna re-sign. Or you lose Max Fried to free agency and Charlie Morton says, I'm going to come back for one more year. Then you only got one spot to fill. But in the possibility that you have two, to me, it just seems like it would be much better to go into the offseason only needing one starting pitcher rather than two, because that's a huge price you got to pay. And frankly, not a ton of, versatility there. You have to find two, whether it be within your organization or whether it be from without the organization. It is what it is. This video has been brought to you by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.